Hello and welcome to our English Learning Podcast. I'm Sophia and I'm here with James. In today's episode, we're diving into useful English words and phrases that you can use in business situations. Whether you're just starting out or want to sound more professional, we'll cover some important expressions to help you in the workplace.
Yes, and we'll also have some example conversations to help you understand how to use these phrases. Today, let's start with some basic terms around meetings, since meetings are such a big part of the business world. We'll talk about words like agenda, deadline, and follow-up and explain them with real-life examples.
Great, so let's start with the word agenda. In business, the agenda is the list of topics or items to discuss during a meeting. For example, if there's a meeting about a new project, the agenda might include things like timelines, tasks, and goals. Having an agenda helps keep meetings focused and organized.
Exactly. You might hear someone say, "What's on the agenda for today?" Or "Let's follow the agenda to stay on track." It's a useful word because every meeting usually has some kind of agenda.
Another important word is deadline. This is the date or time by which something has to be done. In business, deadlines are very important because they help people know when they need to finish their tasks. If someone says, "We have a deadline next Friday," it means the work should be completed by Friday.
Yes, and people also use phrases like, "I'm working to meet the deadline," or "the deadline is coming up." Here's a quick conversation to help understand how these words might be used.
Do we have an agenda for today's meeting?
Yes, we'll discuss the project goals and the deadline for each task.
Great. Let's make sure we cover everything on the agenda.
Absolutely. And we'll set a follow-up meeting to track our progress.
In that example, they use both agenda and deadline in a natural way. And here's a new term, follow-up. When someone says they'll have a follow-up, it means they'll check back on the topic or meet again to see what's been done. In business, follow-ups are helpful to make sure everyone is staying on track.
That's right. For example, after a big meeting, someone might say, "Let's have a follow-up in 2 weeks." This means they'll meet again to see if everyone is completing their work and following the original plan.
Let's also talk about the phrase touch base. This is a casual way of saying that you want to check in with someone or discuss something briefly. It's very common in business English. You might hear, "Let's touch base tomorrow," which just means, "Let's check in or talk tomorrow."
Yes, and it's a friendly phrase that can be used in emails or conversations. It's not so formal, so it works well for small updates or quick discussions.
So we've covered a few key terms today: agenda, deadline, follow-up, and touch base. These are all helpful for talking about meetings and planning in a business setting.
Exactly, and in our next section, we'll continue exploring more business terms and phrases that can help you sound more professional at work. All right, let's continue with more helpful business terms and expressions. We talked about agenda, deadline, follow-up, and touch base. Now, we'll focus on terms related to working together and managing tasks. So if you're in a team or need to coordinate with others, these words will be really useful.
Yes, and a good place to start is the word collaborate. In business, to collaborate means to work together with other people to achieve a goal. You'll often hear people say things like, "Let's collaborate on this project," or "I'm looking forward to collaborating with you." It's a very positive word and suggests that people are working as a team.
Yes, it's about teamwork and working closely with others. And related to this, we have the word feedback. Feedback is when you give someone information or an opinion about their work. For example, if your manager wants to help you improve, they might say, "I'd like to give you some feedback." Or if you're working on a project, you might say, "Can I get some feedback on my work?"
Exactly. Feedback can be positive or constructive, which means it's given to help someone improve. Constructive feedback is a polite way of suggesting changes, so the person can do even better. Let's hear a quick conversation to understand how these words might be used.
How's the project coming along? Do you need any help?
It's going well, but I could use some feedback on the first section.
Sure, I'd be happy to take a look. I think we can collaborate more on the design part as well.
That sounds great. Let's set up a meeting for tomorrow.
So in this example, they used both feedback and collaborate as offering feedback on the work and suggesting they collaborate more closely. Now, let's move to another useful phrase, reach out. In business English, reach out means to contact someone, usually in a polite or formal way. If someone says, I'll reach out to you tomorrow, it means I'll contact you tomorrow.
It's also commonly used in emails. For example, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. It's a friendly way to say, contact me. And another term that goes hand in hand with reach out is follow up. We mentioned follow up as a noun, but it's also used as a verb, like, I'll follow up with them tomorrow. This means you'll check in or contact them again.
Yes, both reach out and follow up are helpful for keeping communication going in a polite way. Let's introduce another phrase now, take initiative. If you take initiative, it means you start something on your own without being asked. In business, taking initiative is seen as a great quality because it shows you're motivated and responsible.
That's right. If your boss says, I appreciate your initiative, they're saying they value how you've started something on your own. A lot of employers really appreciate people who take initiative because it means they don't always need instructions, they're proactive.
And another useful word in this area is responsibility. When you have a responsibility, it means there's something you need to do or take care of. For example, it's my responsibility to prepare the report. In a team, each person might have different responsibilities to make sure the whole project is successful.
Absolutely. A common phrase you might hear is, that's not my responsibility, which means it's not that person's job or task. But it's more positive to say something like, let me check if that's my responsibility, or I'm responsible for this part of the project.
That's a great point. And speaking of projects, let's talk about task and assign. A task is a specific piece of work that you need to complete, like writing a report or organizing a meeting. And to assign means to give someone a task. For example, a manager might say, I'll assign this task to you, or this task has been assigned to the team.
Right, and when tasks are assigned, everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing. If you're assigned a task, it's your responsibility to complete it. Let's give an example conversation to show these phrases in action.
I've assigned the final report to you. It's a big responsibility, but I know you can handle it.
Thank you. I'll take initiative and get started on it today. Should I reach out if I need any help?
Yes, please reach out anytime. And I'll follow up next week to see how it's going.
Sounds good. I'll make sure to ask for feedback as well.
In that conversation, we see assign, take initiative, responsibility, reach out, and follow up used naturally. It shows how these phrases all connect in a business environment.
Exactly. And let's add one more term here, on track. In business, if you're on track, it means you're progressing well and meeting your goals. For example, are we on track to finish by Friday? Or let's make sure we're on track with the project. Being on track is very positive and means you're on schedule.
Yes, it's an encouraging phrase that's great for team motivation. If something is off track, it means it's not going according to plan, and you may need to make adjustments. So if a manager asks, are we on track? They're checking to see if everything is going as expected.
So far, we've added several helpful phrases for working in a team. To summarize, today we talked about collaborate, feedback, reach out, follow up, take initiative, responsibility, assign, and on track. These words can make it easier to communicate and work effectively with others in any business setting.
These are all practical terms, and once you start using them, you'll feel more confident in your English at work. Let's keep going with more essential business English. In the last section, we covered phrases for working in a team, like collaborate, feedback, reach out, and on track. Now, let's talk about words that are useful for making decisions and handling changes in the workplace. These are also crucial skills, as the business world often requires quick, thoughtful decisions and the ability to adapt to changes.
Yes, good point. So, let's start with a common word in decision-making: approve. When someone approves something, it means they give permission for it to go forward. For example, if you create a marketing plan, you may need your manager's approval before you start using it. People might say, "Can you approve this?" or "The project has been approved."
Exactly. And approval is the noun form of approve. For example, you might say, "We need the client's approval before moving forward." Having approval means everyone agrees on the decision, which is important in business to avoid mistakes or misunderstandings.
Another term that's very useful in decision-making is strategy. A strategy is a plan that helps you reach a goal. In business, strategies are created to help the company succeed. For example, a company might have a marketing strategy to attract customers or a sales strategy to increase profits. People often talk about creating a strategy or revising the strategy.
Yes, and strategist is the adjective form. For instance, you might hear, "We need to be strategic about our resources," meaning they need to think carefully about how to use their resources effectively. Let's listen to a quick conversation example using approve and strategy.
I've been working on a new strategy for our online marketing. Do you think we can get it approved soon?
It looks good to me, but we'll need approval from the director first.
Understood. Once we have the approval, we can start implementing it right away.
So, in that example, they talk about creating a strategy and needing approval. Now, let's introduce another important term: implement. To implement something means to start using a plan or putting it into action. After a strategy is approved, the team might say, "It's time to implement the strategy." You might also hear phrases like implementation process, which is the steps you take to put a plan into action.
Yes, and this is a really useful word because implementing a plan is a big part of any project. After you create the strategy, you need to know how to implement it. Another similar term is execute. To execute means to carry out a plan. For example, we need to execute our plan by the end of the month.
Right, and sometimes even the best plans don't go as expected. So here's another useful phrase: Plan B in business, a plan B is an alternative plan you have in case the original plan doesn't work out. For example, if this marketing strategy doesn't work, what's our plan B?
It's always smart to have a plan B because changes are common in business. Speaking of changes, let's introduce the word adapt. To adapt means to change your approach or plans in response to new information or circumstances. In business, adapting is very important since things can change quickly. You might hear someone say, "We need to adapt our strategy to the new market conditions."
Yes, and adaptability is the quality of being able to adapt. People with good adaptability can handle change well, which is highly valued in the workplace. For instance, our team showed great adaptability during the project. Let's hear another quick conversation example to show these words in use.
We may need to adapt our strategy if the market changes.
I agree. It's good to be prepared with a plan B just in case.
Yes, and we'll need to make sure we can implement the changes quickly.
Absolutely. Adaptability is key in this business.
In that conversation, they talk about adapting and having a plan B now. Let's move on to another word that's very helpful: prioritize. To prioritize means to decide what tasks or goals are most important and focus on those first. In business, there are often many tasks to do, so it's important to prioritize to make sure you're spending time on what matters most.
Yes, and prioritizing is essential for staying productive. For example, you might hear, "Let's prioritize our client projects," or "We need to prioritize based on deadlines." When people prioritize well, it helps them meet deadlines and keep things organized.
Another related phrase is set a goal. To set a goal means to decide on something you want to achieve. In business, setting goals helps people stay motivated and focused. For example, our goal is to increase sales by 20% this year. Having clear goals gives direction and helps with prioritizing tasks.
Yes, and once a goal is set, everyone can work toward it. Another similar term is objective, which is a specific result that you aim to achieve. For example, our objective is to improve customer satisfaction. An objective is a type of goal, often with more specific details or a shorter time frame.
And once goals and objectives are set, the team can start working toward them. A useful word here is progress. Progress is the improvement or movement toward a goal. For example, we're making good progress on the project, or let's check the progress next week.
Yes, and you can also ask someone, how's the progress? Or say, we need to make progress. Progress is about moving forward step by step toward the goal.
Let's give another example conversation to demonstrate prioritize, set a goal, objective, and progress.
Our main objective this quarter is to increase customer satisfaction.
Agreed. Let's set smaller goals to help us get there.
Yes, and we should prioritize tasks that directly impact customer satisfaction.
Good idea. We can check our progress each week to make sure we're on track.
So, we covered some great phrases here. To summarize, today we talked about approve, strategy, implement, plan B, adapt, prioritize, set a goal, objective, and progress. These words will help you when discussing plans, making decisions, and handling changes in a business setting.
Absolutely. Using these terms will make you sound more professional and prepared in the workplace, and it will also help you stay organized and efficient. Now, we're going to focus on words and phrases related to problem solving, achieving results, and communication. These are crucial skills in any business environment, as unexpected challenges often arise, and effective communication is key to keeping things running smoothly.
Yes, and we'll also look at how to use these phrases to sound more professional and solution-oriented at work. First up is challenge. In business, a challenge is a difficult situation or problem that needs to be solved. You might hear, we faced some challenges on this project, or this is a challenging task. Being able to recognize challenges and address them is essential for success in any role.
Right, and related to challenge is the word solution. A solution is the answer or action taken to solve a problem. For example, if there's an issue with a client order, you might say, let's find a solution quickly. This phrase shows a proactive approach to addressing issues. Being solution-oriented is highly valued, as it shows you're focused on overcoming problems rather than just identifying them.
Another helpful term here is resolve. To resolve means to solve or settle a problem, often in a way that brings it to a clear end. For example, we resolved the customer complaint, or I'm working to resolve this issue. Being able to resolve issues efficiently is a skill that makes a big difference in customer service and teamwork.
Yes, and once you've found a solution and resolved a problem, it's often helpful to reflect on what happened. To reflect means to think carefully about something, especially to learn from an experience. In business, reflecting on challenges and solutions helps individuals and teams improve. A manager might say, let's reflect on what went well and what could be improved. Reflecting after completing a project is a great way to build on successes and avoid repeating mistakes.
Another useful term in this area is effective. Something is effective if it works well and achieves the desired outcome. For example, this strategy is very effective, or we need an effective way to handle this issue. In the workplace, being effective means your actions are helping to reach goals and solve problems in a positive way.
Yes, and related to effective is the word efficiency. Efficiency means doing something in a way that uses the least time and resources while still achieving good results. For example, we're looking for more efficient methods, or efficiency is important in this role. Being efficient is highly valued, especially in fast-paced business environments.
And that brings us to another essential business word, objective. We touched on objective in our previous part, but it's also relevant here. An objective is a specific goal that you're working to achieve, and keeping objectives in mind helps teams stay focused and motivated. An objective can help guide problem-solving efforts by providing a clear purpose. For instance, if the objective is to improve customer satisfaction, you might focus on resolving customer issues more quickly and effectively.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about communication and clarify. Communication is the process of sharing information with others, and good communication skills are essential for any business role. Whether it's discussing project goals, giving feedback, or solving a problem, clear and open communication keeps everyone informed and on the same page. If something isn't clear, you might hear someone say, "Let's clarify this," which means making sure everyone understands the information in the same way.
Yes, and clarifying is especially important during meetings or when giving instructions. Miscommunication can lead to errors or delays, so taking a moment to clarify can prevent issues before they start. Asking questions and checking for understanding are both part of effective communication and show that you're engaged in the conversation.
And a useful phrase in communication is address. In business, to address something means to deal with it or talk about it. You might hear someone say, "Let's address this issue," or "We need to address customer feedback." Addressing issues directly shows that you're taking responsibility and making an effort to improve.
Another good word here is negotiate. To negotiate means to discuss something in order to reach an agreement. This is often used in situations where both sides need to compromise. For example, you might negotiate a contract with a new client or negotiate deadlines within a team. In business, negotiating is a key skill for achieving fair and balanced solutions.
And speaking of fair solutions, let's also introduce the term compromise. To compromise means to make concessions or find a middle ground so that everyone is satisfied. If two teams have different ideas, they may need to compromise to create a plan that works for both sides. A good compromise balances the needs and goals of everyone involved, which can lead to stronger teamwork.
Great point. Another useful phrase for communication and teamwork is mutual understanding. In business, mutual understanding is when everyone shares the same knowledge or agreement on a situation, which is essential for effective teamwork. For example, we need to reach a mutual understanding on the project goals means everyone needs to agree on what the goals are. Mutual understanding makes it easier to work together and avoid conflicts.
Absolutely. And one more important phrase to mention is make an impact. This means to have a positive effect or to create a noticeable change. In business, people often talk about making an impact when they're talking about achieving goals or making improvements. For example, our new product has made a big impact on the market, or we're hoping to make an impact with this campaign. Making an impact shows that your work has value and meaning.
Yes, that's a powerful phrase. When people make an impact, they contribute in a meaningful way, whether that's by helping the company succeed or making a difference for clients. And speaking of making an impact, let's mention outcome. An outcome is the result or effect of an action or decision. It's helpful in business to focus on the desired outcome so you can stay aligned with your goals. You might hear, "We want a positive outcome for this project," or "The outcome exceeded our expectations."
These are all important words for achieving results and communicating effectively in a business environment. To summarize, today we discussed challenge, solution, resolve, reflect, effective, efficiency, objective, communication, clarify, address, negotiate, compromise, mutual understanding, make an impact, and outcome. Using these phrases can make you sound more confident and capable in professional settings.
Yes, and that wraps up our episode on Essential Business English. We hope these words and phrases will help you in your own work environment and give you the confidence to communicate professionally.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends, family, or colleagues who might also want to improve their English skills.
Absolutely, and don't forget to check back for more episodes on useful English phrases and expressions for work and everyday life. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to helping you on your journey to better business English.
Goodbye, everyone, and happy learning!